What's up, everybody, and welcome back to another exciting episode of Switch Talk 2, the perfectly pocket-sized podcast for fans of this amazing hybrid console that has stolen our hearts and minds, the Switch 2. I'm one of your hosts, Antonio, aka Hypecaster. Double D, David Jones is not here. He's on hiatus, but I'm here with my best bud, Klei Miraculous Howard. Miraculous, because he's amazing at everything that he does. I want to go start with like a get to know you question. Okay, how did it feel, Klei, to beat me in uh, our weight loss competition in the Megadads Discord? You came out a huge winner. Can you just brag for just 2 seconds about that?
I'd rather not, but
Ladies and gentlemen, before the podcast, he was literally like, just gonna run a couple miles. Do you find that video games help you or hurt you in like your health, like just journey or whatever? I know we've played some VR stuff, but the get to know you questions about health and gaming.
oof,
So
dang
what
it,
do you
yeah.
think? What's your connection with
As
it?
soon as you brought up VR, it changed my answer completely because
That counts.
part of me, all I want to do is just sit on the couch and play video games all day, as do most people who are probably listening to this. But yes, VR has been very helpful with exercise. I've been doing some different VR games that are specifically uh, focused on actually exercising. And then there's some VR games that are good exercise, even though they're not really made for it. And so, yeah, so it's a love-hate relationship with exercise and video games. It kind of depends. It's a little all over the place.
Yeah, you've been getting super fit. I'm proud of you. I've played the exercise games on VR. I think those are the VR killer apps that everybody's been waiting for. I mean, anyone who's ever tried it knows that it's exactly what it claims to be, a fun way to get moving. You don't even, I never felt that, oh, I'm exercising, even with the exercise games. It's just something about it. Gamifying it is great. Nintendo related, did you ever do the Ring Fit adventure thing? Because
I did
I
not.
almost bought that like 3 times on Switch, and I did have a thought that would something like that come back maybe for like a Switch 2 edition? Because I
Mm,
actually wouldn't mind that because I never pulled the trigger. So you never tried it.
I did not. I think David might have had it if I
Mm,
remember correctly, but yeah, I was not really very healthy back when that came out, and it just never really appealed to me, unfortunately.
hmm. No, I hear you.
Mm.
Well, today, ladies and gents, we are talking about Rotwood. Now, Rotwood, I have my notes here. Rotwood released on Switch as well as PC, and it's a fast paced cooperative roguelike action brawler developed and published by Klei Entertainment, the studio behind Don't Starve. And now, Klei, you played this, and I was on the fence about it. I love playing multiplayer games with you. I think that it's something that I crave. Like of all things in gaming, I always like am craving that next co-op experience. We've played a couple gems, but we're always looking for the next thing. What did you think of just Rotwood overall? Like, do you think that I should buy it?
Yeah, so the reason this got on our radar to begin with was it was in that indie direct that we had, what was that, a month ago or so?
Yeah.
And so there were a handful of games in that direct that I looked at and I was like, there's some good looking stuff in here. Mostly like just even looking at the art style of the games. I remember shy of a couple of them. Overall, I remember coming out of that, and I think David said the same thing. I was like, man, there's a lot of really good art styles in the indie scene right now that are coming to Switch too. And so this one was one that immediately jumped out to me, and I think was probably my favorite visual art style of all of the indies that we saw in that direct. And so as soon as I saw that, I was like, well, that's cool. And then it said, I think it was a shadow drop. It dropped that day, I believe.
Yeah, it was early access, and then
It
out of
was early
nowhere
before it.
they went
Yeah,
1.0 without telling anybody ahead of
that's
time.
right. And so, and then I saw that it was multiplayer. You could play couch co-op or you can play online with other people. And so that's when I was like, oh, this is even better. Like this might be a great game to cover on the show.
Mhm.
But yes, unfortunately, I could not get you or David super excited about it. I was we had a couple other games we were talking about maybe doing. I was on the fence about it. There were a couple that looked really good, a lot of good options, which is not a bad problem to have. But ultimately, this one just kept looking good to me, and so finally, I just pulled the trigger on it. I was like, oh, I'll just try it out and see if I like it and see if it's something I could maybe convince you, Tony, to play with me. And yeah, so that was kind of those were my initial thoughts of like how why would I want to get into this or what was the appeal to me was literally just those two things. So
The Don't Starve, like, it's a sharp looking game. The Don't Starve, like, lineage, you can totally see it. I couldn't place what, like, vibe it had, for the longest time, but an evolution of, like, what Don't Starve is, like, a good way to describe it. It's vibrant, like, lots of pinks and greens, and, like, it's not all muddy, it's, like, kinda cartoonish, and, yeah, it's a looker. It looks beautiful. Some question I had for you is it me, or is there an odd, like, frame weight frame rate and, like, weight to the game where your character's kinda plods and it's like a slower type brawler where, like, you control area and you're not just moving super fast? Like, how are the controls of the game?
so um I don't I don't think it's that slow. Um but you obviously your character can get speed boosts through upgrading your character or through getting uh run specific upgrades, I guess, whatever those are called, power ups or whatever for that run. um what was the first word you described it as looking like?
The frame rate seems a
Frame rate.
little
I have not noticed
low.
anything weird with the frame rate
Like,
of it being low. If anything, it's maybe the animation style kind of gives off
yeah,
that vibe.
something's going on there, and that's a Don't Starve thing as well. Like, if you looked and played that game, that was even more, like, pronounced, if I remember correctly, just from the footage of your gameplay. It just I'm coming off of playing Splintered Fate, Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles Splinter Fate. I'm coming off of playing, there was another Hades like game, but like you're flying around like super fast in these latest games that I've played that are action like, and I
Okay.
was just wondering if it was
Yeah,
like if it
if
felt
you want to compare it
slow.
to like Hades, yeah, it's definitely slower.
Mhm.
Your character moves slower, and I don't know if based on which weapon you have, what your if your speed changes. But like I said, eventually there's like all these different modifiers you can get to increase your speed. One of them is like as soon as you kill an enemy for 3 seconds, your movement speed is increased 30% or whatever. There's one where every time you roll or dodge, your speed increases for 30 seconds, or it's not even that long. But and so if you just keep stacking those things, you could be like a little speed demon running around, but it doesn't feel like I'm walking in like mud or anything or sand like when I play this
Mhm.
game. So it doesn't feel that. Maybe if you went from like Hades or something that was real fast to this back to back, maybe you would feel a little bit of a speed change. But overall, I didn't notice anything too odd like that. So,
Are there different characters that you pick that have different weapons and abilities? Or, like, talk to me about, like, the archetypes. Like, is that a
right.
big draw of the game? I see in some of your gameplay you playing with a is it a cat person, and you have a spear, and it's really cool because you do like this combo attack. How is all that? Is that fun?
Yeah. So I was trying to figure out how the characters worked because I made a character at first.
Oh,
uh,
create your own
You
character?
create your
I
own.
did not
And
realize
so
that.
there is no
Wow.
there's no like if you pick this race, then you're good at this stuff. It's just you're just
Oh,
generically you make yourself look like, and so there's a lot of customization. And then I think you even
I
you
didn't
can
realize that.
yeah, and so
Okay.
I don't think what you choose or how you look does not affect your gameplay at all. And then
Wow.
but then once you get into the game, then you can be more selective on what weapons you want and the armor you want, and that's what gives you like permanent, upgrades and things that carry over or whatnot. Um, and so I think the first two weapons you start off with the option of is a spear and like a mallet mace type thing. And so those are the two options you have. But then eventually it opens up. I can't remember how many. There's like 7 or 8 weapons, I think, that different types of
Oh.
weapons that you can choose from. And then within that weapon, you can get nicer and nicer ones that do more damage and have different abilities, and like the buttons even do different things. And so between the different weapons, what each button on your hand on your controller are different. And so it's not like every button has a light and a heavy and a dodge. Some of them have no dodge attack, some of them have a dodge attack. And so there is a lot of variety there.
That's good.
um
I like
yeah,
that.
some of them have charge up abilities, some don't. Some are long range, some are short range. There's this one that's you carry around these big boulders and you throw them,
That's
and then
awesome.
they bounce back, and if you catch them, then you can re-throw them again. But if you don't catch them, then they just drop on the ground, and you either have to pick them up, or if you press like A or something, it like reloads them or something. There's like a bazooka thing that you can shoot long range. There's a bow and arrow, spear. um yeah, there's some really unique ones. The spear is my favorite right now, just because it has a really long reach. And it also has this like long, what do they call that in like track and field, when you put the long
Oh,
stick down?
like a pike or whatever, or the oh, yeah, I know what you're
High
talking
jump,
about.
like a high
High
jump type
jump one.
thing.
Okay,
You can do
cool.
that with your spear, and you can like jump over things. It's kind of cool. um but yeah, so armor and weapons are mostly how you make your character unique from other people. But from what I can tell, once you create that character, you can still make, I think you can make up to 4 characters on your Switch. And so I didn't like the way my first one looked, and so I made a second one, and he looked a little bit cooler, and I was like, yeah, I'm going with that. And so now I've been trying out different armor pieces, and you can mix and match, and based on different areas and where you're at, you get different armor options. And so it's pretty cool. Yeah.
When you get upgrades and stuff with these type of like games, part of what really needs to hook me is like I just need to do one more run. So like there's kind of this like fantasy town thing and then like a map and you go to the different areas with the boss at the end. So pretty straight ahead there.
Right.
Um is the or do the unlocks happen like Fast and Furious where you're kind of always getting something, or do you feel like it's kind of stingy with the upgrades and you don't get feeling very powerful very quickly? Because that's another thing that's interesting in the games that I've played. Like if you think of Deep Rock Survivor, which a game that we love, you're like you quickly getting those upgrades, like Ball Pit, Ball X Pit. It was like the dopamine is like that. So what is that like with this game? Is there any addictiveness to it or not really?
So you get the upgrades in the run, you get those quite often. So those come pretty quick. And then as far as like trying out different weapons and getting different armor and stuff, it does a relatively good job of giving you new things that you can try out. I was able to try out all the weapons relatively quickly. Probably within the first 4 to 5 hours, I was able to try them all. At least get, unlock the base level of each weapon to at least try it out and see if I liked it before I kind of picked one to, because you don't want to like start leveling them all up if you don't know what you're going to enjoy and stuff. One of the interesting things is you can do some of that back at your base camp, but there's also a point in every run where you make it to this other camp. It's different than your base camp. And while you're there, they have like 2 weapon options, 3 armor pieces, and then a bunch of other things that you can use your currency to purchase. And so you could literally be mid run and get and purchase new armor or new weapons, and then have to finish out your run with a brand new piece of weapon or armor. So that is kind of unique in my opinion. Usually you make all your changes at like home base, and then you go back out and you do a run, and you don't really change it up in the middle of the run. So that's kind of a nice thing, and I think that helps it not feel super bland, because you could get halfway through a run and be like, man, I really don't like this weapon. And then you get to that little camp, and then you can like buy a different weapon and swap it out. You don't have to wait until you fight the boss and beat it or die or whatever to, you know, be able to change your weapon or change your armor. So that's kind of nice. I think that keeps it a little fresher and keeps it, more exciting. But when I said earlier about how the armor, it only changes, I forget how it works. It depends on what part of the map, what level you load into. So some levels have the same armor options. And so I'm sure as I unlock more levels, I will continue to see more variety of weapons and armor and stuff. And so maybe it's a little bit restrictive up front, that you can't just, it's not just always random. There's not a pool of 100 pieces of, armor to choose from. It's probably smaller, but then when you go to a different area, you open up a whole different pool of armor. I don't know. So I don't fully have a whole grasp on it yet, until I've played more of this game. It's hard to say, but I think it does a pretty good job of feeling pretty fresh up front. If anything, it maybe suffers a little bit in the middle area, where you kind of, after you've experienced everything, it maybe feels like it mellows out a little bit. But I have a feeling it's going to ramp back up, here as I continue to play.
I'm excited more for this now that I've seen more, that I've heard more. I mean, I see you now like in the gameplay that you took fighting with like a bow. Like it looks good. It's fun. Did you by any chance try that other game that was similar to this in the same vein? It was Absalom. I played the
Mm-mm.
demo and it was incredibly popular roguelike co-op brawler, and it didn't like I it felt like the progress was kind of slow. It felt like the combat was kind of chunky and slow. Like it just wasn't for me. This might be a little bit more my speed. So I'm super interested to try it. Now, I'm going to look up the price, but if you had to say, based on your time with it now, if it's worth a buy or not for someone like me who was on the fence, now that you know more, is it like go ahead and pick it up? I'm looking up the price right now.
Okay, so for me, if this art style, if you look at this, it's kind of like a hand drawn type style. I would say Don't Starve reminded me of like Tim Burton esque. This is a
Yeah.
little bit of a departure from that, but it's still got the hand drawn look to it. Where, I mean, I don't even know if hand drawn is the right word. It's definitely more cartoony. It's very flat. Everything is 2D. There's no 3D ness to it. It is kind of like a beat 'em up. Um, but if the visuals at all are appealing to you, if you're looking at the gameplay and going, "Oh, that actually looks really nice. I like the character style. I like the, you know, the backgrounds and all that." If you like it, then I think it's worth it immediately, because it's like, as I'm playing, I'm like, yeah, there's things about the gameplay that maybe will get old over time, or maybe it's lacking a few things here and there. But I've just been so visually drawn into how this game looks that I've been happy with my purchase, just for that alone, because I just think they did such a good job at making this look so good, and the art style just really works for me. So that's part of it. I think that's part two. I think if you have friends to play this with, I think it's even more of a recommendation.
Hmm.
I haven't had a chance to play this with anybody, but man, I just think it would make it a lot more enjoyable. And so that's another thing. And then I would say anyone who's a fan of beat 'em ups, um I think back to the arcade days, and Ninja Turtles or The Simpsons or whatever, and it's like, I love those games, but I try to play beat 'em ups now, and I kind of start losing,
Yeah.
I lose interest real quick.
Yeah.
And so I think these roguelite type games, where it kind of changes up from every game, the map
They've
is a
ruined
little,
us.
they really have.
They've conditioned us for the dopamine.
But it
Everything I've said, like I feel gross now.
and like, we're starting to learn, like, oh, you can do roguelites in different things. You can do first person shooters, you can do third person whatever, like, but I still think that this works really well. I think it creates a level of uniqueness to, and unpredictability, if that's even a word,
Yeah.
for beat 'em ups, that I like about it. And so every time you go out, when you finish a room, you get two different options of where you can go, and you can see what you're going to get in that room if you go in that room, more or less. There's only one that has like a question mark, and you just don't know what you're going to get. But for the most part, you can kind of pick between two options of where you want to go. And so it's always different. And so I like that about it. I think it makes it more enjoyable, and you just don't know what you're going to experience. You don't know what your power-ups are going to be. And so if you're a fan of those old beat 'em up, you know, mashing this is not just mash the buttons. I guess you got to be a little more, you know,
Mhm.
you can't just sit there and hit attack, because they'll eventually just attack you back. You can't just spam attack. But so those are the three things: the visuals, online co-op, if you can get it with a friend, and if you're a fan of just beat 'em up type games, I think it's worth checking out.
There is online co-op, because like I'm looking up, the price by the way is $29.99 right now.
Okay. Yep.
The modes it's saying is 1 to 4 player couch co-op. Um it doesn't say anything about online, but there is like a mode in the menu or whatever, online play, create a lobby or something like that.
Yeah, I'm 99% sure this has
Okay.
online
All right,
co-op.
cool. No, I mean, it seems fun. So I'm hoping that like we are able to connect on a game and just pull the trigger on one of these, because I think that it's again, it's just such a strong desire of mine for that next solid addictive co-op experience. So I'm willing to give something a shot, if that's, because I'm chasing that that dream all the time. So yeah, this is good. Rotwood, again, on available on PC and Switch too. So it's a pretty strong one. As we wrap up, I did want to ask you if anything on the radar for Switch lineup. Like, do you have any other games that you are planning on getting, or is April, May, now that we have not seen like a new direct, is it kind of dry for you right now? Anything on the horizon?
Yeah, I'm trying to think what's coming that
Are
we
we
have.
gonna do the Pokemon what's that called? The Pokemon Stadium thing, but it's the new one.
Oh, yeah,
Pokemon
I
Champions.
imagine we'd probably do
Pokemon
it cuz
Champions.
it's free to play, right? And so I
Yeah,
imagine
I
that
think it's
we
free to start, if I'm not correct.
right.
I mean, I'm gonna give it a try. I think we should give it a try. I mean, I'd be surprised if that ends up being our next like multiplayer itch, doing Pokemon battles with each other back and forth. But who knows? We'll give it a try. Thank you
Right.
for joining us, everybody, for another exciting episode of Switch Talk 2. We'll see you next time.